Now, I've lived in Florida since 2006, and over the years I've seen plenty of people move to our state, and it doesn't always go as planned, exactly what they thought. And so today we're going to be going over the top 10 reasons why people regret making the move to Florida. And if you're considering making that move, you're going to want to make sure that these reasons don't fall in line with things that you might regret if you're going to make that move. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Number one, this is no secret, but the high humidity and extreme heat in the summer, that's a huge reason why people regret making the move to Florida. Now, if you look at the average, it shows that it's only 82.6 degrees as the high in July and August across the entire state on average. But I can tell you, after living here for 17 years, that and I'm in Southwest Florida, it's generally in the mid-90s in the summer months, and the humidity is quite high. Now, that being said, there is typically an afternoon thunderstorm that does cool things down, but obviously that doesn't really help with the humidity. So if you're opposed to the high heat and humidity, you want to stay out of Florida at least in the summer months. Now, winter months, absolutely amazing. That's what people think about and why they move to Southwest Florida, but Florida in general. All right, number two on our list is the extreme weather and hurricanes. So during those summer months, like we had talked about before, that is also when hurricane season happens. That starts every single year around June 1st and goes all the way through November, which is a significant amount of time for there to be a threat of hurricanes. And so, yeah, let's face it, there's nowhere in the world where there's not some kind of natural phenomenon that could cause a big problem for us, and whether that's earthquakes or fires or tornadoes, we have hurricanes. That's the thing that is, that happens in Florida. Now, being here for several major hurricanes, I can tell you they're no joke. So if something's coming your way, you want to make sure that you are not in harm's way, if you will. But I can also tell you that you've got so much time to prepare. Generally a week or 2 weeks even out, they're telling you, hey, there may be a hurricane that's coming towards you. And as time progresses, we've all seen the spaghetti models everywhere. You get a really good idea for where that's going to end up. That can shift. We've seen that happen a few times. So if you're anywhere in that cone of concern, called a cone of concern for a reason, and maybe you should be concerned with that. All right, number three, critters. In Florida, we grow in almost every type of critter that there is imaginable, whether it's mosquitoes or we have these nasty little bugs near the beaches called no-see-ums. Can't see them, no-see them. They bite. They're a real pain. A lot of people don't know about those things, but they're a real pain. We've also got alligators. There's exotic pythons that are in the Everglades, wild boars, bears, it sounds like National Geographic here. We've got a lot of those things. Now, most of the time, you're not in that part of nature, and a lot of counties in Florida, they actually do a lot of spraying and mitigation for mosquitoes and other types of pests. So you can absolutely get around a lot of these, but if you're the type of person who's afraid that they'll, see a snake and never want to move or leave the house ever again, Florida may not be the place for you. So we talked quite a bit about the weather so far. This is actually one that a lot of people don't anticipate ahead of time. They think of Florida, they think of the palm trees, they think of the sun, the warm temperatures, but one of the reasons that people regret is the lack of seasons. So we don't have your typical fall where you see these beautiful golden color leaves in the spring and the winter. We don't have a lot of that. And so a lot of times people who live in Florida will choose to go to different parts of the country to experience that. Whether you're going up to New England to see the leaves change or Colorado to go skiing, those things don't really exist here in Florida. So if you like variety of seasons, Florida may not be the place for you. Now, number five on our list is due to the population growth. Now, hear me out. Florida has almost 22 million people who reside in the state of Florida. That is we are the fastest growing state out of all 50 states. From 2021 to 2022, at almost a 2% increase in the population, where the U.S. population growth has actually slowed down significantly, and a lot of states are losing a lot of people. And so with that rapid population growth comes some challenges, right? The infrastructure has not been able to develop and increase as much as it's needed for the growth. And so in many parts of Florida, you're going to have heavy traffic, you're going to have packed beaches. There's just more people around because people are finding it so amazing to move to the state of Florida. And so if you don't ever want to deal with traffic, maybe Florida's not the right place for you. All right, number 6 on the reasons why people regret moving to Florida. This is a big one. I've had multiple videos about this, but this is a high insurance costs. The state of Florida, we've talked about the hurricanes, that's been a real issue, but there's also there's a lot of litigation when it comes to insurance claims, and the insurers have paid out over $52 billion in recent years, and with all of those claims come higher insurance costs. And so with that, on average, the average homeowner's insurance policy in the state of Florida is $4,200 per year. That's up 42% over last year, and it is a factor that we are seeing. Now, here's the deal. Newer construction is going to have a more favorable insurance rate. Not being in a designated flood zone is going to have a favorable insurance rate. And so there are things that you can do if you're looking to move to Florida to make sure that you're not on the scale of paying exorbitant fees when it comes to homeowners insurance. But again, that's just partnering with a great real estate agent who's going to be able to help you make those determinations. Number 7, the high cost of living. Now, hear me out. Florida actually ranks 31st out of 50 for affordability, meaning that there are still 19 other states who are less affordable than what Florida is, that have a higher cost of living. That being said, depending on where you are in the state of Florida, you may find a higher cost of living. So if you're in central or northern Florida, that would be typically a lower cost of living. If you're on the coasts, most of the East Coast or the West Coast of Florida, you're going to find a higher cost of living than what that state average is. And so you just want to take that into consideration. It does, if you're coming here for retirement, that's one thing. You may want to consider how that will impact your retirement. If you're coming here with a new job opportunity, you also want to make sure what is the cost of living where you are now compared to the cost of living where I'm going, and figure out if the salary can actually make that make sense for you. All right, number 8, the lack of public transportation. We have a lot of people who move from all over the country, all over the world, who come to Florida. And one thing that is quite surprising to them is that there's not a more robust public transportation system. If you're on the East Coast, there is a Bright Line train. You do have public busing, but it's nothing significant compared to, having metros and subways, those types of things that you would experience in other bigger cities around the country. And so you basically have to have a car in the state of Florida. I don't know what way to put it. Public busing, public transportation, that's not going to get you to where you want to go. And let's face it, you're not going to want to Uber everywhere either. That's gotten very expensive these days. And so lack of public transportation is one reason why people definitely regret moving to Florida. All right, number 9. This one you would not expect. Boring terrain. Now, hear me out. We in the state of Florida don't really have mountains. We don't have much undulation, elevation changes, etc. And so after a while, it's just like all you see is flat. Sure, there's some hills that are northern and central Florida, so I get that. But primarily we are sandy. We've got a sand soil base, and it is flatter than flat. And so if you need to see, big mountains, you're not going to move to Florida for that anyway. But I have talked to a lot of people who just they want to go hiking, they want to go mountain biking and do things that require those types of elevation changes that we just do not have here in Florida. Okay, number 10. This one pulls at the heartstrings. The main reason that people regret moving to Florida is distance from their relatives and loved ones. I've seen it time and time again where people make the move, they have so much excitement, they come down, they get some family to visit every once in a while, they go back for the holidays, and eventually they want to be closer to their families. And what I'll tell you is that this happens at every age bracket. So these could be, people who are in their working years, this could be people in their retired years, and a lot of times what happens for the retirees is they start having grandkids pop up, or their grandkids are playing sports and they feel like they're missing out on that. And so if their family is not local, we see a lot of times where people make the decision to move back to their hometown, regardless of weather and lifestyle and things that they had here, because they want to be closer to the people that they love. And so I would tell you that create a plan around that. If Florida is part of, a move that you're looking to make, create a plan. Like, hey, we're going to see the family at least 2 times a year, 3 times a year, 6 times a year, whatever that looks like, and schedule that out and get commitment from the rest of the family. You don't want to be homesick moving to a new state, and that's a really important point. And out of all 10 on this list, that's the #1 reason that I see why people regret making the move to Florida. Now, we have helped hundreds and hundreds of people make the move to Florida. And so if you need assistance or have any questions, we do serve the entire state. We've got an amazing network of real estate professionals. They can just help. Like, it's not even to sell you anything or whatever. It's literally just to help you make the decision that's right for you. Feel free to reach out. We've got the home dream list or wish list that's below here. You can click on that, fill that out, and me and my team will be happy to reach out to you and help you decide if it's the right move for you or not. And as always, please subscribe to the channel. Here's another video for you. Have a great day.